You're standing on the banks of the Amazon River. In the muddy water beneath your feet lies a 20-foot anaconda. But you can't see it. Even scientists with tracking devices can't spot it. For 83% of the time, it just stays perfectly still right beneath your feet. It's as if the riverbed itself has grown a spine. And that's just the known snakes. In 2024, one was pulled from the jungles of Ecuador. After completing the DNA test, the entire team was left speechless. This creature split from the green anaconda 10 million years ago. A completely new species has been hiding right under our noses for millions of years, without a single written record left behind. But here's the most mind-blowing part. 60 million years ago, in this exact same jungle, lurked a 50-foot-long beast weighing over a ton. It could swallow crocodiles whole. Scientists claim it's extinct, but 99% of this rainforest has never even been stepped foot in by humans. If a 20-foot snake can vanish right before your eyes, what makes you so sure a 50-foot one isn't waiting in there? To answer that question, you first need to understand what kind of place the Amazon truly is. Covering 7 million square kilometers. It's roughly the size of the entire United States. But size isn't the point. The point is that half the year, this place is entirely underwater. When the rainy season arrives and the rivers surge, the forest instantly turns into an underwater world. Tree trunks are submerged, leaving only the canopy. The ground completely disappears. The entire ecosystem becomes a massive, murky soup where nothing can be seen. And this soup happens to be the anaconda's home turf. Anacondas are semi-aquatic creatures. They can swim in the water, crawl on the banks, and even rest in the trees. In murky waters with near-zero visibility, it ambushes its prey, constricting them with its body and dragging them underwater to drown, before swallowing them whole. After a single meal, it can go months without eating, then sink back into the water, vanishing deep into the dense labyrinth of rivers and swamps. Tell me, to find an animal like this, how much luck would you actually need? But the story doesn't end there. Over the past 200 years of Amazon exploration records, one specific creature repeatedly appears: massive serpents. 19th century naturalists Henry Walter Bates and Alfred Russel Wallace both recorded seeing snakes 30 to 40 feet long in the jungle. They weren't fiction writers, they were serious scientists. Yet, the largest snake they managed to catch themselves wasn't nearly that long. In 1907, British explorer Percy Fawcett claimed that he encountered a snake over 60 feet long. What does 60 feet even look like? Imagine a 6-story building laid flat across the river. That's roughly how long it is, without any physical evidence. Fawcett later returned to the Amazon. This time, he never came back. The man disappeared, but the stories of the snake lived on. Around 1910, former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt offered a flat $50,000 reward for anyone who could capture a 30-foot snake and deliver it to the Bronx Zoo. The money was theirs. $50,000 back in 1910 was enough to buy an entire building in New York, yet no one claimed it. In 2016, near the border of Peru and Brazil, a construction crew reported digging up a snake over 30 feet long, but with no complete records. For over a century, the same script keeps playing out. Not enough proof to confirm, nor enough to deny. So the question is, could a snake of this size biologically even exist? The answer isn't a guess, because it actually existed. 60 million years ago, during the Paleocene epoch, in the Cerrejón coal mine in northern Colombia, scientists unearthed the fossil of a snake. In 2009, it was officially named Titanoboa. 50 feet long, with a body nearly a meter thick, and weighing over a ton. Line up 5 cars bumper to bumper. And that's roughly its length. At its thickest point, You couldn't wrap your arms around it. This is the largest snake ever recorded in Earth's history. And it wasn't some distant relative. It belonged to the Boidae family, sharing the exact same ancestor as today's anaconda. The same bloodline, the exact same method of constriction. Except its size was scaled up to an absolutely terrifying level. Scientists speculate its main diet consisted of crocodiles. Yes, to Titanoboa, a crocodile was prey, not a rival. When a 10-foot ancient crocodile was constricted by it, its bones would be crushed like styrofoam. So how did it grow so massive? At first, scientists thought the answer was simple: temperature. Snakes are cold-blooded animals. The hotter the environment, the larger they grow. The tropics during the Paleocene were indeed hotter than today. Sounds perfectly reasonable, right? But as research deepened, they realized it didn't add up. Temperature alone couldn't support a 1-ton snake. The real answer was hidden within the ecosystem. The Amazon of that era wasn't the dense jungle we see today. It was a vast wetland with sluggish river networks, on a scale much grander than today. The waters teemed with an endless supply of fish and aquatic life. And Titanoboa wasn't the only giant around. The waters were also home to 20-foot ancient crocodiles. It wasn't just one snake getting that big. Everything was evolving to be massive. That place was like an amplifier, pushing every living creature toward gigantism. But that's not all. What comes next is truly unsettling. Could today's Amazon still support a snake of that magnitude? There's one clue. The largest crocodile in the Amazon today, the black caiman, has a record length of nearly 20 feet. What does this mean? It means that the top of today's ecosystem's food chain can still sustain massive predators of near-ancient scale. And the anaconda happens to be the heaviest snake in existence. Pythons might reach similar lengths, but they are much thinner. An anaconda can weigh twice as much as a python. Simply put, a python is like a rope. An anaconda is like a fire hose. However, the largest anaconda on record today is only about half the size of Titanoboa. Does that mean anacondas could never reach that level? Not necessarily. Think about it. In any species, individuals that grow to extreme sizes are exceptionally rare. Out of 10,000 snakes, only one might become a true giant. And the anaconda happens to have a few advantages other snakes don't. First, it's semi-aquatic. The water's buoyancy helps its body defy gravity. Think about the largest animal on Earth, the blue whale. Why does it live in the water? Because the water supports its massive frame. On land, if you reach that kind of tonnage, your own bones would shatter first. Living year-round in the water is basically a built-in weight loss cheat. Second, reptiles have a bizarre biological trait: indeterminate growth. What does that mean? Unlike humans, who stop growing at a certain age, as long as it's alive and gets enough food, it will never stop growing. Anacondas can live for 20 to 30 years, given enough food and time. Theoretically, it could grow to a horrifying size. So from a biological standpoint, if there's any snake on Earth that could rival Titanoboa's size, it's the Amazonian anaconda. Without exception. But if it's theoretically possible, why is there absolutely no physical evidence? That brings us back to just how insane the Amazon truly is. A study published in 2025, based on 12 years of field tracking data in the Peruvian Amazon, focused specifically on how difficult it is to find anacondas. Scientists equipped the snakes with radio transmitters, allowing them to pinpoint their exact locations. But even when you know their exact coordinates, and walk right over and crouch down to look, 83% of the time, you still won't see them. They're either hiding under fallen logs, burrowed into muddy riverbanks, or completely buried under a thick layer of dead leaves, with only their nostrils exposed to breathe. A 20-foot snake could be lying just 10 feet beneath you, and you still wouldn't find it. They spent 12 years using satellite tracking, and the result was barely better than searching blindfolded. And that's only in the areas they could actually reach. The vast majority of the Amazon is inaccessible even to scientists. Research stations are clustered around settlements and major rivers. To penetrate the remote tributaries and seasonal flooded forests, it could take days or even weeks by boat. And once you arrive, if you want to conduct long-term research, logistical support is practically zero. In places like these, even if a 30-foot snake did exist, it could live out its entire life in total peace, without a single human ever crossing its path. But what about fossils? Fossils should leave some evidence, right? In other parts of the world, yes. But not in the Amazon. Tropical rainforests are among the worst places on Earth for fossil preservation. High temperatures, high humidity, and highly acidic soil. Bones tossed in here decay to nothing in just a few years. The vast majority of animals that die here don't even leave a trace behind. Only under extremely rare conditions, where sediments rapidly bury a carcass, can a fossil actually be preserved, and then accidentally discovered millions of years later. Titanoboa simply got lucky in that regard. All of its fossils come from one single location. A coal mine in northern Colombia. Just a single pin drop. Within an ancient rainforest that once covered over half of South America, we've only uncovered that one isolated spot. That's like taking the entire landmass of China and only examining a space the size of a parking spot, then using that single parking spot to determine if a species exists in the entire country. Do you think that's reliable? And then, Titanoboa simply vanishes from the fossil record. Because of this, scientists declared it extinct, but in a place that can't even preserve fossils. Is disappearing and going extinct really the same thing? Just because you haven't found a body doesn't mean it's dead. You just haven't found it. No one can answer this question. If one day we could truly dig deep into the geological strata of the Amazon, would we find more fossils of Titanoboa? And even younger rock layers? Or perhaps find another species of giant serpent we never knew existed? Something that continued to survive long after Titanoboa? No one knows. Because in the Amazon, some things have always been there. Not because they don't exist, but because this vast forest never intended for you to see them.